Happy Families podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
But what happens is when you can't regulate your emotions, you also struggle to regulate your behaviour. If your emotions are big and lousy and out of control, your behaviour just follows.
And now here's the stars of our show, my mum and dad.
G'day, this is Dr. Justin Coulson, the author of 6 books about raising happy families and the founder of happyfamilies.com.au. I'm here with Kylie. Hi, Kylie.
Hello.
Wife and mum to our 6 kids. And for those of you who are new to the podcast, because my goodness, we're getting a lot of new followers and listeners lately. Kylie and I have been married for since the late 1990s. I'm not going to do the maths. I know the date, but I'm not going to do the maths because... Well, should we give that personal information out? It was in March, and it was in the very, very, very late 1990s. Oh gosh, was it 98? It was 98. No, it was 97. No, it was 98. What year was it? I bet you don't know.
Oh, you bet I don't know.
Yeah. Come on. What year was it?
Well, we had our first child in 99.
Right. You're looking at me like that should tell me what I need to know. It was definitely 98 because she was born late in the year. It was definitely 98. Okay, so there we go. So hang on. So now I've got to do the maths. 23 years. We're nearly at 24 years. Welcome to the podcast for those of you who are new.
So 6 more sleeps.
Till the TV show, till November 1.
That's exactly right.
Till parental guidance comes out.
And parental guidance is causing a little bit of a stir.
Which I don't know how it can be because nobody's seen it yet. But the promo does make it look a lot more provocative than I think that it's going to be. I think it's going to be something that gets people talking.
Well, one of your staff members actually sent through something that Richard Hunwick, he's the director of sales, television and radio at Channel 9.
Right.
He wrote on his LinkedIn account.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He said the next show that will have Australia talking is parental guidance, not a copy of something else.
Yeah.
It's not an all-stars version.
No.
It's new and compelling.
Yep.
I got to see the first episode and it's a cracker, something that makes you shout at the TV before wiping a tear from your eye.
Oh, I've got goosebumps just hearing you say that.
Controversial, without any villains.
Yes.
Touching, confronting, and at times hilarious. A show for anyone who has kids or parents. I love that. This one will have everyone talking.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see this one air. Ali Langdon is brilliant.
Yes, she is.
And Dr. Justin Coulson, wait for it, is going to become a star.
Oh, stop that.
One to watch as we head into November.
I can't believe you read. So I agree with everything except that last sentence. Not interested in that. But I love what he said. Just show that to me. Hang on. So what I love what he said here. Controversial without any villains. So a lot of people have been on social media kind of keyboard warriors. I don't know, we can't watch this show. This is exploitative and blah, blah, blah.
Obviously, the promo definitely made it feel like there was some serious tension between...
Well, there is some tension, but that's because we're talking about parenting and people care about it a lot. But I love what he said, controversial without any villains, because they're all great parents and they're brave and they're having tough conversations. I cannot wait for this show. I've got goosebumps just thinking about it. So how many? 6 more sleeps?
6 more sleeps.
Yeah, awesome. And
the kids are already getting the popcorn stash ready.
I love how he said it's going to make you shout at the TV before wiping a tear from your eye, because I can't tell you how many times I got weepy sitting in that studio and having these beautiful, powerful conversations with people.
Well, the promo showed you already.
I know. The promo made me cry. I know. Anyway, we hope that if you're in Australia at least, you can watch this. For those of you who are overseas, I'm not sure if or when you'll be able to see it, but I reckon it's going to be so successful that people will do a show like this overseas and copy it. And like you said, it's not a copy of something else. It's a brand new idea. So people are going to love it. That's on Monday night, Monday the 1st of November, parental guidance on Channel 9. Yeah, really, really cool stuff. Every Tuesday, we talk parenting and we answer your parenting questions. If you've got parenting questions, you're welcome to send them through to us, podcasts@happyfamilies.com.au. And Kylie, what's our question today?
Well, Bron and Dan asked, how do we teach our 2-year-old boundaries?
Okay, stop right there. You don't. Okay, that's not a fair answer, but yeah, carry on.
We try to keep our expectations in check and only sweat the stuff we need to, but time in doesn't seem to be working. We take him to his cot to keep him in one place and chat with him about what's happened, but he just bounces around, not really listening. He just doesn't seem to be learning that throwing plates of food across the room and tackling the dog, which has led the dog to growling and nearly biting him, is just not okay and not safe. What else can we be doing to help him understand these boundaries? obviously we are very hypervigilant around the dog situation now.
Tackling 2-year-old tantrums and behaviour regulation with a 2-year-old is really, really tricky. We're going to address exactly how we can manage that right after the break.
It's the Happy Families Podcast.
For a happier family, try a Happy Families membership, because a happy family doesn't just happen. Details at happyfamilies.com.au.
It's the Happy Families Podcast, the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now. And today we are tackling toddlers and behaviour regulation.
Okay, so my first response to this, and I know it's going to sound like I'm trying to flog some merch or something like that, because I've got a webinar called Little People, Big Feelings. And anyone who's got little kids and is struggling with the way those kids behave, it's in the Happy Families shop at happyfamilies.com.au. Oh, by the way, brand new website launches today. Very excited about that. So if you jump into the Happy Families website and have a look at happyfamilies.com.au in the shop, you will find Little People, Big Feelings. That webinar will change your life. I cannot tell you how much extraordinary feedback we've had from that. But in the webinar, I talk about, 2-year-olds don't listen, is what Bron and Dan said in their email. And how do we get them to listen?
And they're right.
Yeah, they are. They're right.
They don't listen.
And they won't. And even if you tell them stuff, it's still not going to actually sink in. Because they're 2, and it's kind of developmentally, their brain just isn't at the point yet where this stuff is going to genuinely, truly sink in. So what we know from research is that emotional regulation, the big tantrums, the big outbursts, they don't really get a handle on that for another couple of years. And really, we know some adults that can't regulate their behaviour too well, so we can't be too hard on a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old who's having a big moment emotionally. But what happens is when you can't regulate your emotions, you also struggle to regulate your behaviour. If your emotions are big and lousy and out of control, your behaviour just follows. Because you don't have the capacity to hold one thing together, let alone the other. One follows the other.
And this goes back to that theory of mind that you talked about.
Well, that was what I was about to say. Theory of mind.
Doctor's desk last week, just this acknowledgement that your 2-year-old is having this big emotion because they can't understand why you don't see the world the way they see it.
Exactly. And when you're seeing the world differently to them and they don't know how to regulate their emotions and their behaviours, their inhibition is zero. Like they throw plates and they see an opportunity, like here's the dog, and there's no inhibition, there's no regulation. They're like, this looks like fun. So they tackle the dog, or they do whatever it is that's upsetting you. They break things, they pull things apart, they strip their clothes off and run naked around the house. And they do it because they're completely uninhibited, because they just don't know and understand. And you're going to feel, as you try to work with a 2-year-old, like you're not making any meaningful progress, because for the most part, you're kind of not. They don't have the capacity. Now, I don't want to make it seem hopeless, and I don't want you to feel helpless and just throw your hands up, because there are things that you can do to help them.
Well, they learn through repetition.
Yeah, they do.
So consistency is so important.
But let's be really clear about this repetition and consistency thing. I'm so glad you raised it. Think about how many times you have to show a child how to do up shoelaces.
I'm trying to just remember how many times I've had to tell you to put your socks in the dirty washing basket. And how old are you, Dr. Justin Coulson?
I can't believe you did that. But you try to teach them, how old are they before they can write their name? We only had one child who could write her name at a very young age, and that was Lily. And that's because we've spelt her name Lilli. It's just like, I can't count it. Lill. 5 straight lines straight down. One of them's got a couple of dots. A couple of dots. And she would get the dots in the wrong place anyway as well. It's like, oh, hang on, I can't do this. So when you think about these basic physiological tasks that have very, very low levels of complexity, like putting shoes on or doing up a button or writing your name, and it takes our kids 4, 5, 6 years to learn how to do those kinds of things, to get them to do the psychologically complex stuff, like regulate their behavior, regulate their emotion, speak and use their words when they're feeling emotional. This is really big, really complex stuff. It requires a huge amount of neurological development, and that neurodevelopment doesn't happen until they're getting older, until they're maturing. They've got their L plates on.
We talk about the fact that the English language is one of the most complex languages to learn.
Right.
And our children learn to talk and speak.
Yeah.
And that
takes 3 years.
That's huge,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then there's this whole other world outside of the English language called emotion and all of the challenges that are around that. It's such a massive space for our kids to navigate.
Yeah, and they just want stuff. So that's the theory. That's to help Bron and Dan understand why their 2-year-old is so hard to deal with and so hard to manage. The question, though, really is how do we get them to listen and learn and let's be honest, be compliant. Like just play by the rules a little bit. Every now and again when I use the word compliance with kids, there's a bunch of people who'll get up in arms and like, it's not about compliance. And it's like, well, but in the real world, parents really just want their kids to be compliant, to listen and to follow some basic instructions. And it kind of is. Like we need to socialise them so that they do the right thing.
If throwing plates is a problem in your house, then my suggestion is that I would just take the plate away. I'd take it out of the equation. So we've done this plenty of times with our small kids.
Yeah.
When plates were ending up on the floor,
Yep.
I just used to put the food straight onto the high chair.
Yeah, and a 2-year-old's not going to use a knife or fork, so just put it straight on the table or straight on the
And, people will say, but they just throw the food on the floor. That way.
But they don't throw as much food on the floor.
So then I limited
Yes.
what I put on the high chair.
Yes.
If food is just going to end up on the floor, then they only get one noodle at a time or one pasta piece or whatever it is.
But the other thing to think about just with the food situation is don't expect a 2-year-old to feed themselves. Spend the time and do the aeroplane flying into their mouth or the choo-choo train. Here it comes, choo-choo-choo, open up, here it comes, the train's going to come into your mouth. You want to do that sort of stuff because that keeps them entertained. There's a little bit of distraction. There's a whole lot of connection and bonding that goes on. It's about building the relationship. And this is going to help. Now, if you've got a child who's tantruming though, and their emotions are really big, there's other things that we need to do. Time-in's not working, but that's because we're talking about a 2-year-old who doesn't listen, and that's pretty standard. So I reckon we need to be helpful here as well for Bron and Dan.
She's not suggesting by any stretch that there's tantrums going on. There's just an acknowledgement that there's behaviour that is unwanted.
And a lack of listening and compliance.
That's right.
Yeah. So you've said it already, but it bears repeating. When it comes to 2-year-olds, and I usually hear this from parents of children from about the age of 18 months in these early toddler and preschool, this age range, because they're now walking, because they're mobile, and because they are actually able to talk in various levels of capacity, we start treating them as adults, but they're not. Or we start treating them as
big children.
big kids, yeah, and they're not. So I think, number one, we've just got to be really consistent. Keep giving them the same message. It's life on repeat, and it will be for a couple of years yet. Takes them a long time. They've got their learner plates on, and they're just trying to figure this out. And it's going to take a while. Gentle, clear, consistent messaging.
Understanding our children's development and what is actually developmentally appropriate for us to expect.
Yeah.
And then changing our expectations. It is perfectly normal that a 2-year-old is going to throw their food.
Yeah.
That's normal 2-year-old behaviour.
Yeah, you talk to any parent, and this is actually what I'd recommend as well, Bron and Dan. I'd have a chat with other people who have got children around about the same age and say, do your kids do this? And then everyone's just going to crack up. They're all going to laugh and they're like, oh, do they ever? And they also do this. Oh, ours do too.
It's not on the floor. It's on their head.
Yeah. They wear their food. They don't. and I think the other thing to bear in mind here is that when you're raising a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old, when you're dealing with toddlers, you do best when you adjust your mindset and your expectations, and when you pretty much just sort of say to yourself, okay, so what's really going to happen here is we're going to have stuff on the floor, we're going to have mess on the windows, we're going to have 2 baths a day because there's going to be food in the hair and food in all sorts of places that food doesn't belong, and this is kind of what life will be for a short time.
It's messy. And I think, the thing that got us through is having a camera.
Yeah.
Having a camera ready and on hand because there is going to be some beautiful photos to show on their 21st birthday, and a sense of humour.
Yeah.
We really need to lighten up as parents, not have such big expectations of what our children will and won't do, and just enjoy the process.
Yeah. Don't push it. Don't force it. I know that this is probably not the news that any parent of a toddler wants to hear. Like you're like, no, but I want things to be better. I want my house tidy. I want my child to be well kept. And it's, I mean, you can, you actually can, but it's not healthy for you and it's not healthy for them. And what we really want to encourage is just
a big dose of patience.
We really hope, Ron and Dan, that this has been helpful, and for any parent of any toddler. We would love your feedback. How's it going for you? Podcasts@happyfamilies.com.au. Happy Families Podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. Craig Bruce is our executive producer. And if you'd like more info about making your family happier, please visit us at happyfamilies.com.au.